Hi guys, it's Natalie again with another tutorial. This time it's going to be on how I achieved my um, tiger camo pattern. And you can do this with any kind of like camo patterns, like the digital ones or some, I think they're called wild patterns where they're more kind of like grass. Um, where it looks more like grass and stuff. But anyways, so what I ended up doing was, first of all, I have three colors, three ranges of colors. You have your middle color. Should put them in order. You have your middle color, which is my middle blue. I have my really light blue, and then I have my really dark blue for my dark color. And then what I did was I made myself a little stencil sheet out of masking tape. All I did was layer 3 pieces of masking tape right over each other, and I drew on it with Sharpie to get my patterns, and then afterwards I cut them out with an X-Acto knife. I mean, they're not like the prettiest, but you know, they work. And some of the edges are starting to fray, so I might need to make a new stencil midway through the project, but I don't think it'll be too much of a big deal because that adds to the randomness, because I don't think I could ever just like copy these patterns like I did before. But anyways, so I primed a spoon gray, and then what I'm going to do is use my middle color to cover the entire spoon, or part, whatever you'd like to call it. To get down the middle color first. So I guess you could say it's almost like how I was doing the energy blade, except this time I'm using the different colors for a different kind of shading for the camo pattern, if you'd like to call it like that, which is pretty cool. Get down a nice blue coat. Alright, that looks pretty good. Looks really bright on my camera, but you know, it's definitely the middle color, not the bright color. So it's really all about preference on how you go about it next. It's just essential to have your middle color down first. And then you can, well, I guess you could go with your darker color down, and then the two, I'll show you how I go about it, but then I layer the next two colors on top of each other. And really it's about preference on, well, do you want the darker shade on top or the lighter shade at the very top? Oops, turn this on. And since we only want just the one color showing for sure, definitely make sure you clean out your paint cup all the way. Alright, that's looking pretty clean. Okay. So what I'm going to do next is going to take my lightest shade to put on as the first layer. Actually, I'm going to have this in here just to hold it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, it's still a little, the paint's a little wet still, so I'm just going to dry it off really fast with some air blowing through the airbrush, which works fine for this demonstration, but if you have paint that needs to take a long time to sit and cure, it's okay to do it with acrylics, because they dry really fast. Like, I can touch it pretty well. Well, I leave a few indentations, because it's not fully dry, but like with enamels and lacquers, in between these, it would probably take a very long time to do this process, because you'd need to let each of those layered paints completely cure before going on and doing the next. If I'm not mistaken, if I am, leave comments in the comment section to correct my mistakes, and I might need to get a new piece of tape just because it's not sticking very well. But anyways, when this is fresh, you can just stick this on there really easily, and it should stay. It's having a little bit of a hard time, only because I've been using it so much. But what I'll do is I'll get like a rough estimate of what patterns I'd like on there first, and hopefully it will cooperate. And it's really, really important that you've gotten the hang of, I wouldn't attempt to do this technique as like for a beginner, only because you really need to get the hang of, you know, how the airbrush handles, and how far you need to pull back before you actually start letting out paint, because you need to get relatively close to these parts to completely fill them, for one, and then to make sure that none of these other open holes are getting like some excess spray, because you're spraying from too far away. So you really need to get up and close and personal to the stencil in order for this to work. Otherwise you'll have back spray, or not back spray, you'll have mist. You'll have misty parts where you don't want it, and I have a little bit of it on my test spoons, and I didn't like the look of it at all, so I made sure that I'm staying, it's about like an inch away from the stencil to the part. And pick this up. You have that little part there. See, since I didn't let it dry all the way, I have a little bit of scuff marks, but that's okay. This is just for demonstration purposes. And then that will be the first layer. Alright, and then you want to clean out your cup again. Make sure it's all nice and clean for the next color. I'm at 20 psi right now, but I could go down to 15, only because when you lower the psi, it can help with getting in closer and not having to worry about having pull up on a part, because you were too close and you opened up the trigger too much which would cause like a pooling effect. I'll demonstrate it after I'm done with the demonstration. What I mean by that. So sometimes operating at a lower PSI can prevent that from happening, only because you're pushing out less paint. You're using a lower velocity of air to push out the paint, which makes it easier to have leeway on how far you need to pull back the trigger. And now I'm moving on to my dark color, or my dark shade. Okay. And then go ahead and pick some other random designs. And it really depends on like what kind of look you're going for. So you can really play around with, like, if you want more of a darker, if you want more of the darker shades, then you just layer more of these darker patterns on rather than the light colors. Or you can even, if you decide that there's not enough darker patterns on here, you can just go over the lighter patterns to compensate for that. Let's do this little patch right here. Looks pretty good. And there you go. Pretty much. Well, that's how I got the different patterns on there. And you can just keep going if you want some more darker patterns. Color all this down here. And then I'll demonstrate to you if you get really close to it and then you pull back too much, you'll get that effect, which you don't want. That's bad. So be really gentle. You gotta know your trigger pretty well to be able to get really nice and close without causing that pool effect like that. And that's how I did my my camo pattern. Just a simple stencil that I made, and just three layers of paint, and voila, you got it. And then you can either go over this with a gloss or matte or satin sealer, depending on what kind of look you're going for. And then all of my finished parts for right now for my leg are down there. And yep. So I accidentally turned off the camera, which is awesome. But anyways, I hope this tutorial helped you on how I made my camouflage tiger pattern. And you can even do this with the digital pattern just by making like squares. You can find some online if you wanted to trace just like a sheet of it out on some masking tape, and then you might need to make a couple of these, which, you know, it wouldn't be a bad thing throughout the entire process, only because it adds to the variety of the patterns that you'll be getting on the finished product, which, you know, camouflage patterns are supposed to be all kinds of random, so I think it'd add a nice unique touch to it instead of using just this entire sheet the entire time, because you only got, what, maybe a half a dozen or a dozen like little patterns on there. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. You have a good night, and I'll continue to make these videos for you guys when you need help.